Welcome to the Collegiate Cast. We're going to go and do introductions. My name is Riley Hacker.
My name is Delianne Caraballo.
Full name, please.
I don't trust any of you or believe that you say you are, so I will not identify myself with a real name. But you all know me as Benjamin Schubert, history teacher at Collegiate Academy.
Thank you.
I'm Micoela.
Woo! Today we're going to talk about the truths of this world that no one wants to believe in, also known as conspiracy theories. So,
Yes, the truths, theories.
the true theories. Have you guys heard of the Mandela Effect?
So the Mandela Effect is definitely one of my favorite conspiracy theories.
Okay.
And the argument, I think, is built around a fairly sophisticated philosophical concept, the idea that there are parallel universes, a many worlds theory. This is a really common theory. Plantinga spends a lot of time with it in philosophy of ethics. But sort of, it's a complicated explanation for really just a series of coincidences. The complicated explanation is maybe these parallel worlds are bleeding into one another, and that's why we have these overlapping effects. A world almost exactly like ours, except for one or two things that are different. And there's a bunch of great examples of the Mandela Effect. If you look these things up, you'll know the answer. So sort of ask yourself first, what is the answer before you look it up? But, for example, does George from Curious George have a tail?
Yes, he's always had a tail.
He's a monkey, I sure hope so.
Why would
I looked it up, so I know what it is, but...
And what is
Nah,
the
I don't
answer?
remember what the
now,
right
now that we
answer
have
is.
2 yeses and 2 nos.
I'm going to go with a solid yes, because anatomically, that would be the correct thing. And if it's not, that's on the animators, so... I'm going with the most objectively correct answer.
And now that you guys have your answer, the answer is no.
That's correct. Curious George does not have a tail. There are different types of monkey. There are Old World and New World monkeys. Some of them have tails and some of them do not. Curious George, being an old
Do they
world
have, like,
monkey,
nothing? Or, like,
does
well,
not
no.
have a tail. No, he doesn't have a tail.
Oh,
He's
that's
never had a
made
tail.
up.
That's made up.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
There's nothing
Yeah.
on that rump.
So here we are, and the whole point is, like, if I were to poll any number of people, we would get 50%, as we did from the 4 of you just now, who would vote one way or the other. Is that because we just all tend to make the same mistake, or are alternative realities bleeding through into ours? Maybe you are from a
Definitely
different
alternative
reality in which
realities.
Curious George had a tail, and you've been
Yeah, for
swapped
sure.
with your duplicate.
For sure,
and you
that's me.
haven't noticed any other differences, any other glitches in the matrix.
There's this thing where they were saying how Pikachu didn't have a black thing on his tail.
No, the thing is
I
that
was
if it was
really
on the end of the
convinced
tail
too.
or at the base
It's
or at the
the
end.
rear
There's
of the tail.
Yeah, it's at the
Yeah,
base.
but the thing that there was never one in total. And when Miss Fuller had her Pikachu costume,
Was it at the end?
no, it wasn't at the end. I was so confused because I
Oh, okay.
had to watch. I watched Pokemon a lot.
I mean, there's more complicated ones that were like
Yeah.
There are.
like all over the world that are like
Yeah.
more deep because that's like the ones that we just mentioned. That's just like more okay. It's just you just misremember.
The one thing that frustrated me so much was the Monopoly Man, because I swear he had a monocle, and every time I look at the picture, it has a monocle. Same with that brand Olive or something where it's all the fruit, and I swear it has the what is it called?
You mean Fruit of the Loom?
Yeah.
Fruit of the Loom.
Oh yeah, I did have a.
So Fruit of the Loom, this is tricky for somebody who's listening, right? But Fruit of the Loom, if you imagine the brand logo for Fruit of the Loom, what does it look like? What do you imagine it appears to be? Most people seem to remember a cornucopia,
Yeah.
a sort of woven basket
I do
in the
remember
background of the fruit. There isn't one.
Yeah. I'm Googling this because I don't believe this actually. I think that Madcap, I think they just redid their logo.
Yeah, exactly. They just straight up redid their
Yeah,
logo.
they redid their logo. There's no way because that cornucopia is real. Y'all are messing with me. I say Madcap on that. It had to exist at some point in time.
There was also that
In
whole
another
thing.
world.
In another way, yeah, we already established. I already admitted it, guys. I'm not from here.
There's also the one with the robber emoji, where everyone thinks there was this emoji of a black and white and the hat and then a bag of money on his shoulder, and
I don't
apparently that
remember
never
that.
existed.
I don't remember that. I don't ever remember.
I remember
seeing
that. I've
Yeah.
definitely seen it before.
But the origin of the Mandela Effect, the name, how it got its name, It was Nelson Mandela, right?
So he died like in early 2000 or like 1990s or something?
Let's look up the exact date of his death.
Or something like that, yeah. And people keep thinking he died like in the 19,000s.
Let's see. Died December 5th, 2013. But a lot of people remember him dying much earlier. He was president of South Africa from 94 to 99. He's a very fascinating figure, right? He's this sort of civil rights activist for South Africa who was imprisoned for a long time, and then an anti-apartheid activist, really. I mean, civil rights is a term we often think of in the context of American history. But he goes from being imprisoned to being the president of South Africa. Very famous figure sort of internationally, and sort of has a bit of a resemblance to an actor who plays him later on, and I think that sometimes creates confusion as well. But anyway, he dies much later than people anticipate. Another one that I really like is the Berenstain Bears. Are you familiar with this? Did you read these stories when you were a kid? Right.
Like
so how do you spell Berenstain Bears?
I'm gonna butcher it.
Berestein.
Yeah.
I think I was too young to know what the word spelling meant to remember how to spell it.
Almost everybody pronounces it and remembers it, it seems. Berenstain, Berensstein, but it is Stain, Berenstain Bears. Or, alternate worlds.
Definitely.
I think to debunk Mandela Effect, probably just like widely spread social media and like the Pikachu thing, people probably just drew it wrong.
He had a black thing on his tail. I'm not dumb. He had one.
So, or companies are lying to us and rebranding
and making us trip out.
So is the Mandela Effect like the misinformation because it's a parallel world? Like that's what the definition of the Mandela Effect is? It's not just the misinformation even though there's no like cause for it? Because I didn't know that it was like specifically just because of the like alternate dimensions or whatever that was a definition of it.
That's an explanation for why it happens. I mean, really what it is just like a collective false memory.
Yeah, I didn't know it was like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like
I mean, here we are. I'm wearing a tinfoil hat for a reason.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like glitch in the matrix kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
I do like the idea of I mean, I think it's kind of cool to think of like butterfly effect type of thing. A new dimension is created every single time a decision is made. Like, I think that's cool to think about. That's cool to like write about in stories where that's a thing that's super fascinating.
Those are super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if it's real, if it's not, I don't know. I don't really care to know.
Well, we all know it's real.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All believers here. Technology lies and it spies.
We are technology.
And you're watching this on technology. We're listening back.
We're robots.
We're robots. You're robots. And technology is spying on us. What are your opinions on like Siri, Alexa?
I mean, there's no question that there's a certain amount of spying. They're designed to. That's how they help you, right? If you open up Google Maps on your phone so that you can figure out how to get somewhere, it needs to know where you are to begin with.
Yeah.
And it doesn't want you to punch in the address. You don't want to punch in the address, so it just conveniently is already keeping track of where you are. And so you just need to type where you need to go, and then it takes you there, and it sort of tracks you the whole way, right? Like, that's the purpose of the device. That's the purpose of the app, is to do the very thing that you are accusing it of. It's not a secret that it's keeping track of where you are. That's its job.
It can be used against you. For nefarious
of course. Reasons. Well, and there are lots of legal cases of people using GPS information of one sort or another to try and prove that they're innocent. Or, on the other hand, it's been used as evidence to prove that somebody's been guilty. There was a very early case with this with bus punch cards, I think, actually. And so it was one of these, like Easy Pass sort of things where you scan it in when you get onto the bus and you scan it when you get off.
We do that right now.
We do that.
Collegiate Academy does that.
So we do that now for students. So this happened a number of years ago. It was some sort of public transportation. I don't remember the city. I might have to look it But it was used to find somebody innocent. He's like, look, I wasn't there. I have these series of scans showing that I was using my EasyPass somewhere else. And that was, pretty good evidence. But that's sort of like an early version of what GPS data provides for us. Of course, your phone could be in somebody else's hands, right? The GPS data doesn't necessarily match to you unless the chip is in your head.
Yeah.
But other than that, but yeah, I mean, there's no question. There's some spying you. Where do we draw the line? At what point does it stop being what it's for?
Yeah.
And then it's spying. I mean, if you've got a camera on your front door, it's supposed to spy on everyone else.
Yeah. And like, if the government's gonna spy on you, they'll have a reason to spy on you. But I linked one investigation. I also heard of another, but it was an Alexa caught a murder.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And recorded it, but the prosecutor or the
judge,
whatever, he was like, well, you shouldn't have recorded anyway because it shouldn't be listening without the command of, hey, Alexa, or something like that. And I didn't research on how it went, but that was his, like, argument. And then there was another crime where...
That's such a legal loophole, too. Like, what are you supposed to say?
Yeah,
like, there isn't a law telling you that it's illegal for Alexa to record you.
There are a lot of legal loopholes. Learn your rights.
Yes.
Anyway. There was another murder where he said, like, yeah, I was just home. I didn't kill anybody. But his smart water, his watering system, tracked that he used a lot of water that night because he was hosing down the blood
I heard about that one too.
From his porch. And it tracked the water, and they were able to get that evidence.
For goodness sake.
Which is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, all the data that is collected on you. Yeah, I mean, for example, I log steps, right? When I'm walking around, I get 5, 7, 8,000 steps, depending upon the school day and what's going on. Just from walking around my classroom and walking around the hallways. I'm sure I would get twice as many if I did what students do and walk laps in between classes. But that's all data, right? And that's data that is usable. And even though I'm collecting that data so that I can sort of keep track of how physically active I am and maybe get a feel for how many calories I'm burning or whatever, there's no doubt that data could be useful to someone else. And that's being collected too. And is that even a conspiracy, right? We know it is. There's a tracker. It counts how many steps. I count how many steps. I put it on my phone. I did it to myself.
The thing that I think scares me the most is like the audio recordings and stuff where I'm just having a conversation. I remember for like 3 days straight, and at no other point I was talking about skateboards in the living room, and we have a Google Home, and then immediately, like I say for 3 days because every advertisement I got was for skateboards in those 3 days. And like I know that's like super common. That's not some type of conspiracy. That's just how technology is right now, but like it's kind of scary to think like, is there just like a case file on you somewhere where it's like this is every single thing this person has been interested in ever, or is it just zeros and ones?
And it's the company like selling your data and like stuff like that. There's a huge issue with that, and there's also I've been exploring the theory or like thoughts, I don't know, like DNA tests online, like Ancestry and
I may buy one this week. I may actually buy one.
Well, listen to this.
Yeah, thank you. No, yeah, go on. I want to know.
Because, that's not going to, anyway, like, I would want to do one too, but I explored the theory, like, your DNA is out in the world now. And, like, one of those, I forget which one, whether it's Ancestry or, like,
23andMe.
23andMe. One of those is, like, they will or can sell information, and like so the police can use that in ongoing investigation.
Let's be real, I think that's just something that you just if you ever commit a crime like ever, that's gonna be in there. Like that's not really something that they're gonna use to like, I don't know, hunt you down if you're an innocent person, right? Like that's only really gonna be used if you did something bad. So maybe if you're thinking of doing something bad, that's like the only thing that I think of like with that, because it's like a scary thought, but at the end of the day, what is that gonna do, unless there's some nefarious person that knows you and only you and wants to hunt you down using your 23andMe account.
If the government wants to find you, they'll find you.
Yeah, exactly. So giving them like one extra thing to go off of nowadays, it's like you're already giving them things every day. So
yeah, but also if publicity and the government isn't for you, you do you.
Yeah, you do you. You never touch a smartphone with a 6-foot pole.
Yeah, if you don't believe in that, that's your choice. So
the more data that is available, the more likely you are to be able to predict something. But there's no doubt there are motivated people trying to take the data in order to profit from it. There's a really famous example of Target a number of years ago coming up with a way to predict whether or not somebody was pregnant. Basically, they looked at your buying habits. This is what those shopper loyalty cards are for. They're tracking the customer's buying habits, right? They're taking all the things that you buy and they're making a list out of them. Every time you use your shopper's reward card, you're showing your habits, your purchase habits.
Right.
They're associating them with a particular purchaser, the same purchaser, the one that scanned the card every time. And so, sure, you get a couple percentage points off of your grocery bill, but they now have an idea who you are, what you're looking for, what sorts of products are being purchased at what times of the year, that sort of thing. One of the things they started looking for, and there was a statistician who did this for them by the name of Pohl. He ran a whole bunch of different tests analyzing data and came up with 25 different products that predicted pregnancy, early pregnancy, even sometimes before people realized they had a child, that they were pregnant. And so it was different things, lotions, supplements, different things that they would start purchasing. And the reason why they wanted to know if somebody's pregnant is because when you get pregnant, you start buying a whole bunch of stuff, right? You start buying all kinds of things, diapers and wipes
Pickles and Oreos.
Clothes and furniture.
Business?
I mean, toys. There are so many things you start buying. There's so many purchasing habits you develop, which you might keep for the rest of your life, that you create in the moment when you start having children or whenever you have a child. That Target saw that as a really huge opportunity. And so they hired statisticians to dig through all the data they have to try and figure out how to predict. And probably the funniest part of this is they would then start sending out mailers advertising to mothers or potential new mothers based upon their statistical derivation. And there's one particular case where this 16-year-old girl started receiving papers at her father's home. Father was super upset. Like, how dare you imply that my daughter is pregnant? Turns out she was, and he didn't know. So again, it works, right?
Wow.
And it's a little bit creepy. It seems a little strange. But again, is it a conspiracy theory? No, it's just the sheer amount of data out there. And, honestly, a motivated attempt to try and parse it.
yeah, that's valid.
And back on the 23andMe thing and the ancestry, I saw an article about how it was like this big conspiracy, how it was a trap to get your DNA to clone you. And I was like, what? But like the more I read into it, the more I was like, okay, maybe, but I'm kind of gullible. But it was about like them giving the DNA to your government or something. I don't know what I'm going off of, but like they're just making clones. I don't know.
Doppelgangers and clones are a theory in of itself, because it is very strange to have someone look exactly like you with completely different genes.
Oh yeah,
So.
doppelgangers scare me. The idea of a doppelganger, like you're at a store and you see you,
I'd lose it. I feel like
start crying.
I have like a bit more of an uncommon face, just because I think it's just like my nose. My eyes are uneven. Like if I see someone with the exact same uneven hooded eyes, I'd be like, same nose. What is going on here? But I don't know. That's a scary thought. I think it's like super cool when it's like the celebrity thing. If it's like, oh wow, it's just like someone that looks exactly like a celebrity.
Yeah.
But with that, it's like, I think about it, if you go to a football game, you're going to see 10 of the exact same teenage boy, It's a doppelganger. The theory's proved. So it's just kind of cool, like, yeah, all the highlighter clips. Yeah. No, because, like, it's kind of cool if, that stuff like that is, like, fairly common in the, like, same area, right? So it's kind of cool with, like, celebrities and stuff. There is someone that just happens to look exactly like them. It's like, in an alternate universe, they could have just been the two teenage boys at the same football game,
Yeah. The clones, what's interesting is, like, there is this theory or, like, worry for the future that genes are pretty much, like, we'll get to the point where we can pick what our kid looks like, and so there will either be a default and you'll have to pay for, like, better stuff, and so there will be clones with genes, and eventually there will be, like, if not 10 types of people, there'll be like 2 types of people in the world, and they're all going to be the same because that's ideal.
The fear of doppelganger is really old, actually, right? I mean, even the term doppelganger or changeling, those are old terms. We have this idea of babies being swapped out for lookalikes, and the fear that an imposter has been inserted into your family. But we have all sorts of examples in history of people being worried about duplicates or being interested in the idea of somebody looking exactly the same or being swapped. Probably one of the most famous stories is The Prince and the Pauper, right? Which you may have seen. There's a Disney version of this, I think.
Yeah.
With like Mickey Mouse, I want to say. But, it's a story of 2 little boys, one of whom is a prince and the other a pauper, a poor person, a peasant, a beggar on the street. And they're exactly alike, right? And they swap places. Because they look exactly alike, and then they experience one another's lives and how different they are. And of course, it improves the prince, and he becomes much more generous and so forth.
Yeah.
And the peasant boy, the pauper, discovers that being a prince isn't all great, and there's lots of disadvantages to being a prince and lots of responsibilities. And so it's a very cute sort of tale, at least the way Disney tells it. But nonetheless, this is a very old tale, right? This obsession with people who look exactly alike, and
Disney has like
of swapping places.
Disney has a 3-movie series on that concept. It's the Holiday Princess.
Oh,
or like the Princess Swap or something like that.
I'm not familiar with that.
I've seen that.
Very good.
I've seen it.
All right.
I haven't seen the second one though.
Well, never leave it to Disney to keep making money on the same idea over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Barbie did too.
Yeah, Barbie multiple times.
All right.
Multiple different Barbie series, actually.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, there's also the big conspiracy theory. I guess like a big well-known one. Have any of y'all heard aliens?
Aliens are real.
Any
You're reading our minds right
alien experience?
Okay, I think that it's 2 different sides to this, right? Like the idea of Hollywood aliens coming for our brains and like eating them as like Lunchables, like that's one thing. But I think it's kind of I don't know. It's plausible that there are other life forms in the universe. It's not just us. I feel like that's a pretty realistic opinion to have, but we won't know till haven't some like bacteria like or different like microorganisms been discovered from space that were not originating from here? Yeah, that's super cool. That's technically an alien.
That
right?
idea
like,
is plausible.
It's alive. That's really cool to think about. Like actual like aliens that like not just made up. Well, made up. You don't know if it's made up. They could have just had a vision and it's true. But like movie aliens, like what? I mean, the Predator movie could happen in real life at any point, I guess. But I don't know. That's cool. Like just finding out about these new like extraterrestrial like microorganisms and stuff, and then maybe we will find another sentient organism. Hopefully not anytime soon. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about like super intellectual organisms because humans are like one of a kind of thing.
Well, we don't even know that though.
Well, yeah, considering Earth and what we do know, we're pretty unique compared to any other organism, and so it's not far-fetched to think there's some sort of organism out there.
And then going off of that too, like just the idea that there could be such differences that we couldn't even perceive with the knowledge that we currently have, right? Yeah. Because there are a bunch of like, I mean, like if you're in like biology or something, you learn about these like features that humans have that is completely, or like different species that they have that is completely unheard of in any other species. What's to say that if there are aliens, there's absolutely nothing about them that we understand, and that's like a really cool thought.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a theory that we're the aliens.
If we leave our planet and go literally anywhere else, yes. Well.
My aunt has sworn she saw a UFO.
Really?
Like her and my uncle swore they saw a UFO.
She did. She can't identify it, so it's a UFO.
It's an unidentified flying object. That's quite right.
To her, but it could be.
Yeah, that classification is used by the government, and they recently released a whole bunch of information about unidentified flying objects that a lot of people were very excited to look at. Mm-hmm. And there are certainly many things that are unidentified that have been observed at one point or another through radar or through the naked eye. Mm-hmm. But just because it's unidentified doesn't mean that it's alien.
All of these conspiracy theories and just theories and thoughts of themselves, it's just us trying to make sense of the world around us. Yeah. And so, like, there's going to be a million theories out there, and whatever you believe, that's true. Like, if I... well,
it's true to you.
In your mind. In your mind.
Well,
so
look.
I look at that wall, and I'm like, that wall is candy. In my mind,
yeah,
it's identified as candy, and it's going to be candy.
But it's not what everybody else means
yes.
when they say candy. So that might be what you mean, but you have created a plurality of one, right? A single person belief group. That's not very useful. The purpose of words is so that we can communicate ideas to one another. If we don't use agreed upon concepts, we can't communicate at all. We can't transfer ideas. We can't negotiate ideas.
Yeah.
I think human beings are obsessed with trying to find structure and patterns. We love stories, right? Mm-hmm. If your teacher at the front of the room is trying to explain something and they tell a story, all of a sudden you want to hear the story, and then maybe that helps you understand the concept. And the same is true, even when you're a little kid, you want to hear stories all the time. We want to read stories. We watch movies. We watch TV shows. And almost always, a narrative, a story is a part of the process. It's a pattern. It's a structure. It makes sense. It has a beginning and an ending. It has a narrative arc. This is the sort of thing that we study in an English class or what have you. And when it doesn't have those things, it bothers us. Yeah. It's not designed right. It doesn't work right. Why don't we know the ending? That's not okay. And I think we insist upon that even when it's not the case.
Yeah, that's
aliens,
super cool. Aliens,
right? Aliens are us doing that so often. Mm-hmm. Look, there's pieces, there's evidence. I want a story. I want a story that explains this thing, that puts it all together. All the pieces are a puzzle that assemble. They have a beginning, they have a conclusion, they have a villain. The government is hiding things from us.
Area 51.
They have secrets. Exactly, Area 51. Because that is much more interesting to us. It captures our imagination. It appeals to that part of the humanity that desires that there be a narrative which explains things in a pattern.
Mm-hmm. And on aliens, I think, you guys have heard of the Uncanny Valley?
Yes, that's so fascinating. I want to understand it so bad.
The Uncanny Valley, for people who don't know, is like a person, but it's not a person.
That's an example of it. It's just, from what I've understood, it's just like a feeling that no one can really explain. It's just extreme, like eerie, like imagery, or I guess sound technically could be fall into Uncanny Valley too. But it tends to be something that borders on something that appears to be real, but also may not be, and you cannot tell whatsoever. Like, your brain is just going, like, it cannot figure out what you are observing or hearing.
You know what I get off of those? Mark Zuckerberg's employees. They don't look real. They look like aliens. Like, that picture of him.
Yeah,
the picture you have posted here, it does look. I think there's some distortion to the camera lens, and that has something to do with it, and the lighting probably.
It has to be a bit.
I hate to
no
offend a whole room full of people
cyborgs.
just because they have a weird picture,
but it's not just the way he looks. He acts like a robot. He's a lizard, whatever he is.
What do they call it? An NPC.
An NPC, yeah.
I
love saying that.
Experiment.
There's some really weird NPCs out there, guys.
But, like, it's weird how our brain registers for us to, like, tell us something isn't human. Mm. And I think that's, like, I don't know how to say this.
The foil
hat is
preparing us for the future. Like, what if our brain's trying to tell us that aliens are coming and we have to be prepared to know? Like, that's not human. Like, what if one of you guys are alien?
Oh, yeah, actually, that's so interesting.
Oh, there's a TV show with this premise from a couple of years ago. I mean, there's more than one with a premise like this, but there was one somewhat, I think Obama was president at the time, so it must have been, obviously, 10 years ago or so. But it was aliens had come. I think V or something like that was the title. Aliens had come and they were lizard people, and and they were pretending to be humans and hiding their identity. There were some clever components to it. I don't know whatever happened to that show. Didn't know where it was going with its story, perhaps. But yeah, the uncanny valley concept, the idea that we can pick up on cues that are unnatural. We can notice things that don't look right without being able to articulate them. Yeah. We just sense that something is wrong about an image. And I think that this is a useful defense against all sorts of manipulated photographs, but it's obviously imperfect. Anybody who stares at Instagram and thinks that's what people really look like all the time, I mean, they've been taken in. Like you gotta tune up your ability to detect. Be a little more suspicious of the uncanny valley that is people who've manipulated their images.
Now I actually really want to research that after this, because I don't know, that's something that's always fascinated me. I just kind of forgot it for a second, but that's just so cool. Like it's such a strong feeling that you don't know how to explain, and it's I don't know, it's crazy. Yeah. It's so cool to me.
It's your brain communicating something that this is why when people say they have a feeling, I have a feeling that something is wrong. What they're doing is they've collected information and they're not sure what that information is, but past experience has suggested to them that they should act upon this information that they haven't thought through and rationally listed. Oh, I've noticed that person is sweating, and that they appear to be tapping their fingers a little bit nervously. And it's like it's sort of the Sherlock Holmes effect, but you're a savant. You do Sherlock Holmes without realizing what you're doing. That's what it is, right? You've collected information, you've come to a conclusion, but you can't explain what your steps were.
Yeah, it's kind of like whenever someone's like someone's about to throw up, and then there's always that one person that's observant, and then just somehow knows before the person even realizes that's what they're doing, and the people around them I don't know, that's such a cool thing when you hear about medical cases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where they just knew, someone else just knew that that's what was going on before any visible symptoms appeared.
Mm-hmm. Or the classic, you feel like someone's watching you.
Oh yeah, yeah,
you know it.
Oh my gosh, I can't talk about that, dude.
Yeah. But that's just a theory, a game theory,
a collegiate cast theory.
Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. But
I still don't think you're real. None of you.
Yeah.
This is all a simulation.
Yeah. No. Honestly, my vision is bad enough that I could blink and y'all are just gone. I don't know. My vision's blurry all the time. My glasses are not up to date. So
I feel like we've hit a couple of topics, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was fun, guys.
Thank you for joining us, Schubert.
Yes, my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Happy Halloween. This will be uploaded on Halloween.
All right. I
Happy
look
Halloween.
forward to it.
Schubert's an Illuminati.
Stay safe.